Okay, back again, second video of the day, and let's do something completely different, not planes. We'll talk about this Ferrari Citroen mix that I'm doing. Formula 1 Citroen. I want to talk about the nose section, which was originally planned to be like a Blenheim aircraft nose. And I'm still thinking that'll be cool just for the modeling aspect of it, but really has nothing to do with the Formula 1 aspect of it. So the Formula 1 aspect of it really was just totally per chance, in that this Ferrari kit was missing so many parts but had enough of its drivetrain. So we do have the very nice huge wheels. Now I'm going to have to think up, you can help me think up a project, a small car that we can make using the Citroen wheels then. And where are the Citroen rims? There they are. They're very simple little rims. And I'm thinking the obvious thought is one of those aeroplane fuselages that has been turned into a car, which I do in any case have a project long-term thinking where I have that ME109 fuselage 132nd where I can put undercarriage, put wheels onto. One of you mentioned about this tub. Now this is a two-part, I might as well take this off. This is a two-part and the question is whether we sort of do away with that. And the thinking there is that this section here uses up some of the space that we could be seating the F1 engine nice and low in the frame. On the other hand, this thing has the connection points for the body, which is good. So we could clean up and take some parts out of here, because really we don't need a solid, well, I mean, what do we want to see on the inside? If this is, so this view, you know, you've got seats that take up a lot of the space, but we'll probably use a two-seat. We'll dump one of the seats. And that whole area, of course, won't look like that at all. So what this does is it brings out a framework there with the Blenheim style multi-panel frame there, which gives us some interesting modeling that we can do in there, but we need to figure out then about fitting that F1 engine. One could shift the seat ever so slightly forward if needs be. So the rear seats we can keep for the other project. One could do a McLaren style single seat in the middle of this thing, but I don't really want, interior wise, it mustn't look like an F1. It mustn't even have a slight suggestion other than these huge fat wheels that it's got on it, but you won't see that F1 engine easily. So I don't think I really want to put a specific racing seat onto this. However, looking at this tiny little tub, I'm actually wondering if one turns this into a little racing thing on its own. We figure out what engine to put onto this. You know, this could be slightly more backwards, maybe a bike engine or something. That could be interesting actually. Make a little slap together there. So we won't be using these at all. Probably will be using all of the door side panels. and obviously we won't be using that. So some modification to that floor pan. The rest of this thing is totally fine for using. And then I need to figure out what of these parts, if any, or how do we modify them. That's actually a better representation. To put very wide F1, and I don't know how wide this actually is supposed to be. Well, it's supposed to be, you know, that wide. So I mean, we could have the front wheels. We could have the front wheels well wide of the car, which will make it look like a real buggy, which probably will suit, since the back wheels are in any case going to be sticking out, you know, that much. The front wheels might as well be completely, oh sorry, that was the front wheel. The back wheel is massively out, which means that the front wheels might as well be put completely outside the car, in which case I can just use all of the front suspension as it is from the F1 car, and the wheels will be quite outside of that. So I must find the instructions for that car. I can't remember if I even have them. Get the various front suspension pieces together. Decide where we're going to put this wing. Sort of at the back there, up there. We've got two wings anyway. We've got another smaller wing, but I don't think, well, I mean, one could put one up there and one low down, which would be the only hint at this, well, the wheels and the wing being the hint at this thing not being quite normal. But I do like that rather huge wing up there. That probably will be used actually. Yes, so we'll use that canvas roof. Though it might be a little bit different if we open this up slightly. We'll see. So what I need to do is figure out exactly where these front seats might end up going. There, if I can just get those little slots, their normal position would be there. And then we have this whole big Formula 1 engine, not counting the gearbox section there yet, or even making it align properly with reality. But we'd have this huge big engine positioned right in there. Now I wonder, do we just leave that? Do we just leave that rear section as it is, or do we somehow open this up? Give your thoughts on that. Keeping it closed keeps it more looking like a little Citroen, but covers the engine. If one could almost, I mean, you can see through there, and you can see through these windows. You would see engine detail. On the other hand, if you opened that up and put a grill or something, or some sort of mod there, then you can see way more inside the engine bay. The gearbox is a bit of a separate chunk. So it's it is a good piece of this is a bit awkward. Probably put the gearbox to the forward side, or I'm not sure actually. Does that gear that probably has more the the rear suspension there, so it probably has to be more like that. Got quite a lot of exhaust that I might think about coming out of the engine there. What else to ponder? These, which were the engine bay areas and the front fender areas, they sort of serve no purpose anymore, because the whole front of the car just won't look like that. So, and I think probably do stick with these very, very simple little old-time seats. I think that does work. It just gives this extreme contrast between this massively powerful little Citroen, but very old-looking. I saw a little tuk-tuk video, that little three-wheeled vehicle that they put a Hayabusa engine into it, and it motors like crazy. Oh, and then we do in fact have the leftover engine parts from this Citroen, which is I guess a nice little engine in itself, which can then be possibly modded into this thing. So we actually end up doing a sort of a reverse situation as well. We've got the F1 engine into an old car and the Citroen engine into a bit of a Formula 1 car. That might actually be something interesting as well. Because I was almost pondering a motorbike engine for that, but this little unusually shaped and old engine would actually work for a small go-kart. And then we can make we can make a rod style suspension, sort of just using rod similar to that, but obviously not as complicated design as that. There may even be some leftover parts from all of this, because I'm sure I won't use all of the F1 parts. Oh, and there's, well, I'm not sure, I might actually end up using that. And then while doing these two, give a thought to the little bit of steampunkness that one could add into it, especially possibly into this one with the Citroen engine. Somehow adding in some bits from something else, which just make it look totally unusual. Looking at this strange bit here, I have no idea what it is or what it's for, but it could find an interesting place in there. So, where do I start with this? That's the old Citroen exhaust, which I guess we could then put with that little, I'll have to grab a box and put the various parts together. Where I would have to start would be removing that larger area, but keeping this outer framework. I don't think there's any particular reason to do anything with this section. That could be removed. That part, that can be removed, because it does sort of break the line which will be extended there, so this car will be lengthened to the front. So I guess I'll start with cleaning that up and trying to judge the position of the seating, but I also do need to start extending that frame, and I brought these got all of these evergreen bits So these I-beams, is that the I-beams? Yeah, I-beams and a bit of angle. These are not very strong at all. They're actually very, very thin pieces. The very biggest of the I-beams here is too big shape-wise for what I want to put into the Citroen. That's a little bit more rigid. So I do have that for smaller detail. We've got this stuff, which is possibly what I would end up using, because I need to create the structure. There's a bunch of, I've got a whole variety. I only brought some out. I've got a whole bunch of round as well. I need to build, I need to start extending that structure from the roof, actually, about there, about down, in such a way that it's, you know, stable enough in there. Start cutting and fitting windows. I could use this thin packing sort of stuff, but I do also have that thicker. I'm not sure where I put a piece of that now. That almost 1 millimeter thick stuff. This is very nice, even if it's not perfectly flat. You know, actually, when you bend it to make a windscreen, it's not to say that I am going to have a bent windscreen, but this will probably work for most of it, actually. Deciding how far out that nose goes, because that's the probably take it out to the extent that it was, sort of end the nose there. Keeping in mind that one may want to modify as you go, tweak it and make it a little bit shorter or longer. Now, if you've got any ideas, extra little thoughts on the on how to make it cool. So obviously I did say we'll be cutting just inside of those arches. So the Formula 1 wheel would probably be something like that. So it does cut out a real lot of that. One could do those tilted wheels, but I probably would like to keep them flat. But give me any ideas on just slight modifications, slight features on making this a very, very cool looking thing. So I will continue finishing off this engine independently. I will build the front suspension as it was on the Formula 1 car, and then see how it can just be attached to this. And I guess the rear, because you're not going to see a whole lot there or anywhere in there. In fact, having the, you know, once you've got the bodywork on and the wheel coming out there, I'm not sure that it's really relevant to show any more suspension at all. Even once the engine is in there, I don't think it's worth trying to squeeze in something, except possibly these little springs, the Formula 1 springs. So rear suspension is almost a non-event. It just needs an axle and the wheels attached. But the front suspension can be made into quite an elaborate thing. The side windows, of course, are all just the kit ones that we'll be using. You know, various bits of copper wire and colored wire for making it look like there's a lot happening is one thought. I don't think I would do LEDs on anything here, and it's not meant to be a project that starts getting out of hand. It's just a quick fitting together of things that were never meant to be together. And then any thoughts on this one as well? I feel like it's staying small is good, but it needs something a little bit more than just that, just the Citroen engine and those Citroen wheels. It needs some other model's parts, but not, you know, not really talking about weaponing the thing up or anything. Some little interesting things off there. Give your thoughts, and we'll see. This will be two kit bashes. So those seats don't have anything to go onto. And I won't put a figure, well, or will I? Might actually, that is a thought. I think this F1 car came with a figure. I think there was a figure in there, or would it have only been a part of a figure? I'll go and check that. And I have got so many leftover parts, so you know, there's all sorts of things we could dig around for. One doesn't even really have to stick with a conventional engine looking thing. One can make, with various bits of wire and odds and ends, something totally futuristic looking, some sort of crazy boost engine. Could get jet engines, but I think I think something with this as a base is a nice start for its engine. Stuck in behind there. Okay, I'll grab that shortly. Happy modeling, till next time.